ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, wrestling fans, and sports entertainment fans, welcome to the No Shave Man Cave. I'm Ellie Jair.
I am Jay Tilley, and we have a special, super excited guest with us today, Thunder Rosa. Excited for her to join us today on our 22nd show. We're going to talk some mental health, but super excited to have you here with us. We've talked several times in the past, but officially, I think this is the first time you've been on our show. So that's exciting. Got a lot going on, so looking forward to kind of talking with you. I know you had a new song just released too, so
Yes.
if you haven't heard that, go listen to that. It's really good. So super excited to have you here for sure.
Well, we talk about mental health since it's a hot topic for a lot of people. I think
Yes.
that's a good thing to talk about.
Yep. And for those of you that are just joining us or are just listening, Jared and I do a show every 22nd of the month where we specifically focus on mental health. We try to get people in to talk about it, their struggles, maybe whatever they want to open up about and talk about. We don't ever pressure anybody, obviously, because it's your story to tell. But again, I always kind of let everybody know we're not professionals. He and I specifically are just two vets that have gone through some stuff and like to talk about it and like to let people know they're not alone and it's okay not to be okay. So I really appreciate you joining on this one because some people get a little touchy about mental health, but you were a big component of mental health. And as we talked about on your show almost a year ago now, it's neat to we'll be able to get your perspective on some of it. And, mostly we have men on the show, so it'll be kind of nice to get a female perspective, if that makes sense. It'll be good to see kind of what your reaction is or what your thoughts are, or some of the things that we've talked about or are going to talk about. So I'm excited to have you here for sure.
I can see that, Jason.
All right. So I'll start off with a question. So with you personally, I know you've got this persona on wrestling and, Thunder Rosa, the La Mera Mera badass, kick your ass and everything. How do you manage the differences on that character aspect on some of the stuff that I know you kind of get on the personal life outside of the face paint? Let's say, you put the face paint on your Thunder Rosa, you take it off. So there's got to be a kind of a mental balance there. Is there anything specific that, personally you've gone through or how you adjust to that?
Well, you just have to learn you just have to learn how to separate the character and the person. Like when I'm home, I'm home. I am not Thunder Rosa. I might be walking with face paint, but I am not. I am just Melissa. And, you have your own issues, your regular life issues, and you got to tackle those. And sometimes wrestling can kind of get on the way and could be a distraction. But I think now more than ever, I have been able to balance. Like today, before I was talking to you guys, I was taking care of taxes and college applications for my son. So it's just some serious stuff that are, possibly can change my life and my kids' life. So it is important that I make that a big difference. And when I'm home, I'm home. So I've been making sure that I'm more present because we can be absent parents and absent people. You just can be home and not be home.
Yeah, that's a good point. And wrestling aside, I think that's everybody in life because I know me, I stress at work and same thing. I have to go, all right, I'm driving home, dump it all because when I get home, I need to spend the time with my kids and my family and not dwell on work.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think for me, I retired from the Marine Corps after 28 years, thick skin, tough guy, go into the private sector, and I wasn't used to being confronted as a human being because I was always a rank and a last name or just a uniform item, whatever. And then when I got into the industry that Jason and I crossed paths in, it was completely different. So I had to personally pick up where I got my sort of nickname, Ellie Jair. That's my login at work. Mm-hmm. So when I'm at work, I'm Ellie Jair, and I get in my car. I flip my music on and, just leave it all at home. So I totally commend you and every wrestler, superstar, sports entertainer that does this. And you do it on a completely different level because not only are you with one company, you're a role model for so many. And then you have your own situation with your company, right there in Texas. So it's
Mission Pro.
I'm just totally dumbfounded how you're able to
It's a lot of
sit
work.
here talk.
It's a lot of
No,
work.
yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
And
Totally commend you. On top of being a parent and a
music.
life coach to your kid, a recording artist, it's awesome. I'm very
I mean,
you should be very
you
proud.
always feel like you can do more, but it's like you only have certain amount of hours during the day. And before, I think I was really worried about the next gig, and I never got an opportunity to like really enjoy what was happening for me. And I think in the last couple months, that's what I've been doing. Yeah, money hasn't been like rolling like it was before, but I think I have the right, and I think that's a very important thing, that you have to hold space for yourself, and you have to hold space to like experience happiness, because if you don't, it's just like life passes through so fast, and then
Yeah.
it is hard. It is hard to balance being a parent and being someone who's on the road all the time. Like I always feel like, and a lot of men and women can feel the same way and can relate. Like you feel inadequate sometimes because you feel like, you choosing your career for, instead of your family. And as a woman, it's even more difficult. And I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to watch the Sherry Martel Dark Side of the Ring story, and where she left her son because she wanted to pursue professional wrestling, and like she didn't really like completely abandon him. Like she was always present, but it was not like the way that usually you will be present for your kids. And that was hard, and that was hard on her, and that was hard on her son, and it was really sad because she loved her son. But for some people will say that they, she was egotistical and selfish, but it's not that. And I think leaving the mentality of being critical or judgmental about people's decisions, right? It is important too, and being and making amends with the decisions that you make. I think it's been a process. Like just things doesn't happen right away.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Like you said, I mean, he and I, not that we traveled as much with the wrestling like week to week, but obviously we did a bit of traveling. So I understand that feeling absent and not being home for all the big events. And that's one of the things that when I left the military, I specifically tried to work on being home more. So I totally relate to that part of it. Are there any like daily routines that you do to kind of help mentally prepare yourself for the day ahead? Or like today, you said you got a lot of stressful stuff going on, which everybody loves taxes, man. Come on, that's
Oh
not
my
that
God.
stressful.
That's my biggest anxiety creator. I just getting organized, right? Like that's
Yep.
the thing. And like um yes, I do. I wake up every morning. I have to take care. I have to brush my teeth, wash my face. And then immediately after that, I feed my dogs and then take them for a walk. When I'm not too tired, because I feed them and I was like, okay, let me take another 30 minutes. But yeah, it's going on a walk. Like I have to go on a walk. I have to get sun in the morning. Like even when I don't have my dogs, I have to get out and walk. I have to be physical, because otherwise it's just really easy for me to like just stay in bed and feel like, and then as soon as that is done, I go to the gym. Like physical activity for me is very important. And it has been very, very important. It was very, very important when I was injured to just keep my sanity, right? And I just feel moving and feel like the juices are flowing. And yeah, that helps me a lot. And meditation, I usually meditate when I can go to sleep. I put a guided meditation for sleeping, and that helps me to go to sleep.
Yep, I use one of those too. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really helpful, especially for someone like me who suffers from insomnia.
Oh yeah, it's the
yeah.
worst.
Self-care is huge, and it comes in so many different forms. Some people go get their nails done. Some people I love going to the chiropractor. You touched on being injured. I've had three back surgeries, and I don't know exactly what your injury was, but I can only imagine being at such a high level and still rightfully the AEW Women's Champion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to start that here, but to return back to the ring, and everybody's constantly scrutinizing how all of how everybody looks, not just their gear, which your gear looked great before, but it looks next level now. And then, to be able to keep your physique and your endurance, especially, how are you? So we just kind of touched before we went live. We touched on the 1,000 faces of Thunder. How are you able to balance everything? And just as I don't know, a hint or some advice for others who are just so spread so thin, but you're able to do everything with such detail and professionalism.
I don't know, man. It's hard. I got a team of people that helps me now. I'm not alone. I usually come with like 5 people with me all the time when I do events, or I don't necessarily do everything. I can't do everything. That's the thing. That would be my advice. You can do everything at the same time. You gotta focus. I have to
I
focus
like
on
that.
one thing so it comes out properly. Like the last 4 or 5 months, I focused a lot on getting back in shape and getting back in the ring, physically and mentally. And I had to put some stuff in the back burner, like singing and recording in the studio, because if I tried to do everything, I started getting really overwhelmed, and that's not good. And I also was been working very, very hard on maintaining my mental health, like going to therapy every 2 weeks or whatever I need. Taking medication, taking the right medication, and taking it consistently, sleeping, and all that stuff. So I have to make sure I have a good night's sleep between 6 to 8 hours. For me, will be perfect. But because I've been traveling so much, sometimes I can't sleep, and my schedule gets all jacked up. And continue with my exercise. That either be biking, walking, doing something. Those are non-negotiables for me. Even when I go and travel and they want me to do activities, I have to exercise. And I tell them this, like when I schedule things, I have to have time to exercise, or at least to go for a walk, because otherwise I'll go absolutely insane. But And just prioritizing things, I think that's another thing. Like I've been doing like to-do lists. Like right now I was working on my to-do list here, and I still have like 5 or 10 things to do, and I can't stress it if I can't do it. And just try my best. I mean, if I get fine, I get fine. I mean, it is just what it is. What it is. Like once you start living a certain lifestyle, like things are gonna happen. I don't, I like to do a lot of things on my own, and because I need to I like to oversee that. Sometimes, it's hard when you just you give it to other people and they're like, oh, they stole $5,000. Oh my God, they stole like $3 million. I don't have $3 million, but stuff like that. So it's just
not quite Shohei Ohtani level,
yeah,
but
I just do what I can, and I try my best.
yeah,
And I think that's it. If it's just trying and doing it the best that I can.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
that's
interesting.
awesome advice.
Go
That's
ahead.
awesome. No, awesome advice. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so you mentioned non-negotiables, and I just want to touch on that a little bit. I think that's very important when it comes to mental health, because I believe that you have to have those non-negotiable things that, whether it's exercise like you or whatever your coping, I guess is the best way to say it, skill is, or what you use to cope, has to be non-negotiable, because you've got to be able to look at the loved ones in your lives or your employer or your friends and just go, hey, I need to do XYZ no matter what today because I'm in that mental space and I need to do it. And everybody's is different, but as long as you recognize that's a non-negotiable thing, and the people you care about or work with or that care about you understand that too, I think it just helps your mental health journey as you go along for sure.
Now I have those non-negotiables. Before I will put everybody's needs before mine, and that did not work at all. Like because
Yeah.
I was also like, it is so interesting because when you experience high levels of anxiety and and it turns into depression, sometimes you don't even know. Like I think like you guys in the work that you guys did, you guys were in constant stress and survival mode all the time, because you have to be alert, you have to do things, you have to be ready to go when things go south. And I feel like for most of my life, that's how I lived my life. It was like I had to hustle, I have to make sure there was money on the table, I had to make sure that we were able to pay rent, that my parents were taken care of, that when I came to um you know in Oakland, like that there was always electricity and water, and like and then food was never a problem, and it was like always working for the next thing. And now that I'm like, okay, I have what I need, my needs are being met, but I still feel like extremely anxious, and you're like functioning at like high levels of stress all the time, and it's just becoming like overwhelming. And you just discover that, you've been living a very stressful life, and it's just not working in the place that you are at, right? So it was very hard for me to like acknowledge that and be like, okay, I have anxiety, this is causing my anxiety, certain things are triggers for me. And I always knew about triggers and like, coping skills and
Right.
that's and this stuff because of the level of work that I did before I became a professional wrestler. But I had never really experienced some of the stuff like what real PTSD looks like, because it looks different on every single person, right? And once I was able to like work on these things in a more in-depth level, I was able to like live a more quiet and more like balanced life, because I had no balance before, because like the only thing I knew was to hustle and to like live and just to be
Mm-hmm.
reactionary, right? And that was difficult. But once you start like learning and trying and doing different things to do self-care, then you start figure out like, oh, this is like how quote unquote normal people feels like. This is how it is when all your needs are being met, and you're not like freaking out about the a year from now. And I think that's important for people to
Mm-hmm.
understand. um I always say I come from nothing, because it's true. I came from a family that was low income, like our economics were, you know it was hard. We went through hard times, and thinking about the future has always been something very stressful. Like, being one paycheck away from being homeless has been a reality for my whole entire family. And the fact that I work my ass off and I don't live that reality, but in my mind, I feel like I still live like that. So
Right.
it's been a process. It's been a process to be able to like enjoy life and not to like future trip, like we call that.
Yep. That's outstanding. I mean, I relate 100% to almost all of that, because same thing. I grew up not having a whole lot, and my mom, I remember crying over Christmases because she couldn't get us the
Dude,
stuff she
isn't that
wanted,
awful?
and
Like,
eating.
my
Oh, it's
parents, like, I
terrible.
remember there was only one Christmas. I remember my parent, because my mom was she didn't celebrate Christmas because of her religion. But there was one Christmas and I was little, and they gave us like the most basic gifts. Like my sister got, the oldest, got a Domino's. I got this like Mexican Monopoly, and my little sister got this like Chinese doll. And I remember that Christmas, because
Yeah.
like that was one of the very few Christmas and where we were able to open gifts. But every time I went to Christmas with my cousins and they got tons of gifts, like I get stressed because I knew I wasn't
Yeah.
gonna get shit, you know? And it's really
Yep.
sad.
Yeah, and it is, and and I think that leads into some of my issues with my kids now, because they're spoiled rotten, and my wife's always like, we get them too much. I'm like, yeah, but I came from where I've got it, so I can give it to them. Like,
Yeah.
whereas when I get them, I'm not saying anything on my mom. I love her to death, but I mean, she didn't have as much. She went through divorce, and she was at a time when women weren't really getting hired to get paid for jobs the way they are now, even though it's still not balanced out. It was a
Yes.
lot worse, when she was going through it. So having to go through that, like, I can relate to that. And then anxiety and depression are exactly the things that I started to go and talk to my therapist about, because I would have severe anxiety attacks, and then that would roll into depression, and then I didn't want to be around anybody.
Yes.
I didn't want to do anything. Um, and one of the things I tell everybody, why I believe mental health is so important, especially as the past year has gone by and I've been talking to people, is one of the symptoms, I'll say, or side effects, or whatever you want to call it, of depression is you always find a reason not to go do something. Like, I'm not going to go to this. Like, I don't really want to go to that, and that's the disease talking. Well, one of the biggest ones was WrestleCon, and Jared had backed out, and I forgot, I think family or something, but I was like, well, I'm just not going to go. Well, then I'm like, no, that's my disease talking. I'm going to go. Well, that's when I went to and met you with the belt, had you sign it, and like, look what it's done for, you know, our podcast. It's connected you and I. It's connected Tony, who I consider one of my good friends, and I. Like, it's amazing that if I'd have just let my disease win that day, who knows where I'd be right now. And I didn't. I overcame it. I took Edie out, and we went and did it. Had a blast. We had a great time, and it led to so many other things. So that's one of the things I kind of want people to take away too, is just you know, if you need the help, talk to somebody, because you may not realize what's going on, and things like that, like depression, where you just like, oh, I'm lazy. It may not be laziness. It may be like your disease stopping you and holding you back.
Yeah, you go from living on like at red alert, and like for me, it was always the minute I got promoted, the next day I was like, okay, I just got my new ID card with my new rank on it. How am I going to get promoted the next time? And you know, you go out and you have a banger of a match of the year, you and Britt lay it out, and now you're like, okay, wash, rinse, repeat. Now I got to do it again. Or when you're rehabbing from an injury, like, okay, how am I going to come back to be you know, at that level? And then you have a whole separate other thing with whether it's your economy or your emotional connections with people. And the fact that, you know, you at, you know, the you know, top level are able to have open discussions. And, you know, I won't, you know, necessarily get into locker room stuff, but the fact that you're here talking with us about it, and, you know, our followers will hear, you know, here's the things that I had to do, here's how I prioritized, and no one thing is more important than the other, but how you identify the most important thing for you, the non-negotiables, the self-care and the exercise, and, you know, making your son and his education priority. You know, it's awesome to, you know, see it come full circle. And, you know, you should be, you know, a huge inspiration to not just to women, but to everyone, you know, dealing with life in general. And I just think it's awesome that we can have these conversations like
easy.
this.
Like, it's not easy. The process, when you're going through it, when you're in the midst of it, it's not easy. Like, if you guys would have had this conversation with me a year ago, my responses and my reactions will be completely different, you know. And it takes a lot of courage, and that's the thing, is like, it's really easy to like just let it all happen and just kind of sunk in your feelings. And the hard part is like to talk about it, and like, because there's a lot of feelings of shame, and there's a lot of guilt that comes sometimes, and it's not even your fault. That some of the stuff that you have absolutely no control is not even your fault, and you feel like you're guilty for not doing certain things, or for like the lack of, I don't know, they would have, should have, could have, right? And it's like, it's so hard that you gotta let that go and be like, no, it's just, this is what's happening, this is what I have control, and this is what I can work on myself. And that's, to me, 100%, like, working on myself has been the most important part in order for me to understand my surroundings, because I'm not everybody's gonna like me, not everybody's gonna is gonna agree with me, not everybody's gonna be a fan. I am consistently being criticized for the way that I talk, the way that I got promos, the way that I wrestle, the way that I look, because I'm fat, because I'm skinny, because I'm Mexican, because I dye my hair, because I'm because my face paint, because of my music, because I sing in Spanish. Like, it's like, I can give you a list of the things, and there's certain things that, you know, that really kind of like stick with me, but I am not gonna be like the type of person where I'm gonna go out on a rant on social media, especially on X. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna, you know, read certain things and we're like, all right, cool, yeah, that's right. I gained a little bit of weight. I was not in the best shape, but I am gonna work on getting in shape again, because this is my job, right? And like, taking those steps, which were huge, like, again, feeling comfortable in that, like, environment, was, for me, was hard. And I see the videos, and I put all the stuff on YouTube, and so you guys can see the difference. And it hasn't been easy, you know. And like, I gained 25 pounds during my time that I was gone from the ring. I mean, from training 4 hours a day to training maybe 30 minutes, 40, and then, you know, just changes your life. So it's just stuff like that, and like everything else that happened in between. So it was rough, but I chose to change what I could change, what I had control, and that was me. right? And I got the right people. I started using BetterHelp for a therapist, because it's a sliding scale. So if you don't have a lot of money, they can do a sliding scale. And if not, you can go online. I think this is important to say.
Nice.
Go online and search for like, I don't know, state therapy. You have those people that want to become therapists, and the therapy guys is on a sliding scale. You can pay from 25, whatever you have, because they're doing their hours. And yes, they might not
Yep.
be the best, but they need to get those hours and they need to have that experience. So that's like somebody that you can talk to. And then if you have other services online, you can look online for services that are county services for psychiatrists or doctors that can prescribe you medication for whatever you are dealing with. That could be an opportunity to like try something different. Nah, but you have to make sure it is the right medication, and so it doesn't conflict with whatever else you're doing. You have to be open when it's come with mental health. You have to be open to trial and error, because it's not a one-way stream of like, oh, this is what you have to do, and that's important. You have to understand that if you want to get better and if you want to get healthier, because I think mental health is like the last thing that people think about, because we kind of like we were talking about survival mode. They are on survival mode, and then
Yep.
until like it explodes in your face and you have a major thing. You either get 5150, you end up in the hospital because you have a major anxiety attack. Like, it's some serious stuff. And
worst case scenario, you take your own life. Like, there's some
Oh,
really horrible
well,
repercussions that come from not
my
taking your
friend
mental health
Hannah,
serious.
there's gonna be the anniversary again, coming up in the next couple of days. They're doing another show, and it just reminds me that I thought she was okay, and then the what was it? Right after the pandemic happened, she took her
Yep.
life, and we didn't know how bad she was suffering, And then there's been other people that have done that, and it's like, people think about that a lot more than what we think, but we just don't say it, right? So it's
Yep.
just, I mean, it is tiring to do the work. It's tiring, and it's like I was saying, trial and error. But if you don't try, then you will continue to suffer from that disease that you're going through.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
yeah,
100%.
great call out with not all mental health and mental wellness and treatment it's not one size fits all. I'm a size 12 shoe, so this is the protocol that I need to take. And for me, it's been a long journey. And Jason and I, we were sitting at work one day, and we just realized how much we had in common with just stuff. And being able to come out and discuss, oh yeah, I never thought about that, or I never tried this, or I never tried that. And what's crazy is my wife is a counselor and her bedside manner is much different because she's used to dealing with children, and I'm just a child with a beard. But her advice never really hit home until recently. And I commend anyone who is ready, willing, and able to take the first step. And if it's, like what you were saying, Thunder, with, look what you have at your disposal, city, state, county, counselors that are going through school and they're getting their supervision hours. They need 1,800 hours at a minimum,
Yes.
depending on what state and licenses and stuff. So that's a lot of hours. And a lot of times it's just getting off your chest, getting the weight off your shoulders. And then, sometimes saying it out loud, it's like, oh, that makes total sense. I don't know why I'm doing that. But like you said, if you don't get help, you just stay in that perpetual cycle.
It's not easy.
And
I know a lot of the people say, well, mental health is not for poor people, right? Because they don't have access for it. It's a hustle, honey. Like, you have to find the resources, unfortunately. And it's like, and even when you have the money, you have to find the resources, because your insurance, sometimes they don't cover some of this stuff. And some of your doctors can prescribe you, like family doctors, like they can prescribe you some of this medication. Like, one of my family doctors was able to do that for us. But even then, it's just like, you have to find the way. And it's like, doing the research is a pain in the butt, but it's like, when you're in need, it's like the same. When you're in need, when you're hungry, what do? You go to the food bank, you go and find the resources and everything. It's the same thing.
Right.
It's like, therapy is food for your brain, it's food for your soul. It's like, and it's not gonna be you just go to one day and go to therapy and I'm like, oh, I'm saying no, it's consistent work. And I tell you, like, I've been in therapy now for 3 years, and I have had one, two, three, like 4 different therapists, because they switch, right, and they went and private sector, whatever. But
Yep.
it's been peaks and valleys, and I can say that right now I'm like, I can see some of the stuff that I was doing in the past, and I can see what I was doing that it was not working, right? And but yeah, like, I will highly encourage, if anyone is listening, like, I will highly encourage to, like, seek support. And if you're afraid, uh just research. Like, we have our phones, we have computers, and it's just like, it takes time, but it will be worse that you're just like hurting yourself, like self-harming yourself, and like all kinds of stuff, because you don't feel like there is like in help for you. There is, like, we always say it, and it's like the 800 numbers. They can go somebody else, like, you will there will be something that you can do. There's always something you can do. And but it's
Yep.
like, I yes, sorry.
Like,
No,
one
I was just gonna say, because
go ahead.
my
No, go ahead.
I talk about it before. One of my aunts, my favorite aunt, she committed suicide, and she had some severe mental health for years, and we thought it was something else, right? Or it was misdiagnosed, or like, I don't know. It's hard. And also, when you have family that are very severely mentally disabled or mentally disturbed, it's difficult for everybody else. And, but now that I understand, and and study myself, and done that, like, I am more gentle to myself when I'm going through certain things, or when my mom is going through certain things, or my friends are going through certain things. So I'm able to, like, give better advice in certain aspects, because I know that that's what has helped for a lot of people, especially when it comes down to communication.
100%. And communication is the key. And like you said, there's plenty of things out there. And even if you're religious, you can always go talk to your preacher, your pastor, whoever, somebody at your church. I even tell people, talk to your friends. They may not be able to give you the coping mechanisms, but at least talking to somebody sometimes helps, because that's what started my journey. When I talked to Jared, it was like, oh man, you're seeing somebody, and I'm going through the same things, and I didn't think I needed it. So just talk. And if you're feeling those feelings, even if you don't jump right into therapy day one, like, oh, I'm depressed, I'm jumping right into therapy, start talking to friends and family, just to start getting a support system set up, because mental health is important. Our show's on the 22nd to honor the 22 military veterans that commit suicide daily on average, which is a ridiculous number. I've had friends that have done it just recently, found out about somebody I served with. And I know Jared has. So it's why it's important for us specifically, to talk about mental health on these days, and get through it. And like I said, when we started, he and I are both military men talking about it. You're a professional wrestler, and a really, tough ass chick that people see on TV, and you've gone through it. So please, whoever you are out there, don't think you're alone. Don't think it makes you any weaker. Don't think it makes you look, uh, you know, it's not a bad thing. We've all gone through it. I guarantee you, everybody has got some kind of mental illness that they're dealing with in the background, and it's just it helps to get it helps to get help. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
So, well, I will wrap us up, because I know you said 30 minutes and we're about 34, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. Are any final thoughts that you would like to say? Like, I think you kind of wrapped it up pretty well on that last one about
I
getting
think
help.
it's okay to be vulnerable. We're all humans. We all go through different tribulations and troubles, right? And it's just finding what is right for you. That in doing your research, staying informed, educating yourself, and not being judgmental when people are like, especially with depression. I think it's hard for some people to understand, like, you don't have any energy, that you don't want to do things, that you become irritable, like you're not yourself, right? And like, anything can trigger you, and you start crying all the time. That's the worst, So it's like a lot.
Watching a commercial.
No, I'm no.
Word.
Take this thing, and you will
Seriously.
you will have like
Yeah.
dry mouth after you take it for 5 days, and you will get cancer, right? Like the medication. But it's like, I didn't realize how important informing myself about all these things is, and like what can cost me and my relationships with others, right? And it's the same thing. It's just that even my relationship with myself. So it's important that it is okay. Acknowledge that it is okay not to be okay, but it also is important that you are proactive about what you can do and that you can control, especially to like try to feel better. And some people, like you said, like, utilize taking their own lives as an option. For me, that was never an option. That thoughts will pass through your head, yes,
Right.
and it was hard to like shake them off, but you have to think about how hard you work to be where you are, and like and then you have people that care for you and that will devastate them if you leave this planet. So I think that's a way to think about it. But it's like, I mean, I read all the time from other Latinas and their parents that committed suicide and stuff, and like why they committed suicide and stuff. It's some rough conversations. And some of them, like I was telling about my aunt, like she suffered from schizophrenia for a long time,
Oof.
and bipolar. She was bipolar and schizophrenic. So it's just like this dangerous dance with like, I take medications, I'm not gonna take medication, and then like even when my clients do, it was that fine lining where they don't feel themselves, but they don't want to feel like how they feel in their heads. So it's just mental health and just in general, it's a very interesting topic, and it's a very important topic in our country because we see it even more and more now, and it's in your face, and it's important that we have this discussion. And it's important too that hopefully in the future we have more resources available for everyone when we're suffering from any of this, because again, navigating the resources, like I was telling you guys, going online and checking, asking, calling, it's very tiring, but it's necessary.
Yep.
So I will say, don't give up on yourself. Like really, really, really make the effort to show up for yourself when you are suffering in any of these illnesses, because you never know who you're going to be inspiring, and you never know what's like at the end of the tunnel, at the end of the day, and how good you're going to be after you go through this very difficult times. And I can tell you that because I'm like a survivor of that. So I'm really happy I didn't give up on myself.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Fantastic.
We're happy too.
Yeah, we're happy. Yeah, exactly. So excellent. To wrap it all back around to wrestling, because that's what our podcast is mostly about, and what you are. One of the things I like to ask all of our guests, because wrestling is one of my escapes and one of my coping skills, but I like to ask everybody we talk to is, what's one wrestling match you would tell a non-wrestling fan to watch to try to get them into wrestling?
Definitely, I always tell them not to watch the Lights Out, because that's very extreme unless you really like everything else. I will say my one of the matches, if it's like to like women's wrestling, I will say watch. I love my match with Serena and Double or Nothing a couple years ago. I definitely like the one with Tony Storm on Revolution. I think that was a very solid match. It was,
really good.
It was fun. And I don't know, WrestleMania 25, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. That's probably one of my best favorite matches.
That's a good one.
So,
that's a good one.
Mine was Hogan Rock.
Yes.
So, cool.
Nice.
Excellent. Well, again, we appreciate you joining us. For the Thunder Army out there that is coming to check us out, thank you. I'm sure that we'll have some increased traffic, but I appreciate it. We appreciate you coming on. Yeah, and we appreciate you coming on for sure. If you are new to Thunder Rosa, Thunder Rosa 22 on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. They go live. It's every other Monday for Thunder Nights.
Yes, and sometimes we go, because we don't have the Taco Blog, we go every Monday or Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So look, Monday nights, usually after WWE Raw airs, they go on live show if the tech works out okay. And then the Taco Vlog is out there on her YouTube channel. Check out her new song on her YouTube page, Thunder Rosa. And then the vlog goes out weekly also. So if you're interested and you're watching us and don't know who Thunder Rosa is, go check her out for sure. We appreciate every one of you, no matter who you are, listening to our show. You're loved. It's okay to not be okay, and that's the main thing we want to drive home. There are resources out there, like we've mentioned throughout the show. If you are having in crisis, I'll just say 988 nationwide in the U.S. Is a number you can call. They will get you help right away and talk to you. For us, the No Shave Man Cave. Sorry, I got distracted there. For us in the No Shave Man Cave, like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on our podcast, wherever you get your podcast from, No Shave Man Cave. I won't make Thunder Rosa say it because she can never say the, she can't do it. It's a riddle. But we appreciate it for sure, 100%. Hot tag out to you, Ellie Jer.
Baby. Thank you so much to our rightful AEW Women's Champion for joining us here on this very important topic. If you are in distress and looking for help, please don't give up. Keep looking, keep grinding, because that's what got you where you are, and that's what's going to get you over the hump. So thank you so much. On behalf of Jay Tilly, Thunder, to our brothers and sisters at arms, thank you so much for what you do to this country. Hurry up. Get your ass back home because you're needed. We'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we'll see you on the floor.